I think this is a really painful question. I want to set this in the context of my own church. I told you the story of the woman who lost her baby. And, I had the privilege of holding that little boy and praying over him. At the same time in our church, another couple were expecting twins. And there was a real struggle for the life of one of their twins. And there was a lot of prayer. And those twins lived. And so we as a church lived the reality of that question. Now, one thing I can tell you for certain is this. The answer to that question, why are some people healed and other people not healed? The answer for that question cannot be, and definitely is not, God prefers them. They worked harder. They prayed harder. They gave more money to the church. They were more faithful than them. In fact, if anything, the economy of the New Testament, we see that those who are at the forefront of leading the gospel forward are those who suffer and will suffer. So how do we understand and explain miracles and answers to prayer that show some kind of intervention? Well, theologians call it the now and the not yet. If you're taking notes, you can go away and read more about it. It's called the now and the not yet. And it's really related to Jesus' teaching about the kingdom of God. When Jesus taught about the kingdom, he said, the kingdom of God is here now. The sick are healed. The lame walk. The dead live. The blind see. And the poor hear the good news. But he also said, the kingdom of God is coming. The final fullness of joy and healing and restoration is a future reality in heaven. We've talked about judgment as a future reality too. And when we see things like healings and lives being saved, that is like a foretaste, it's a glimpse, it's an evidence, a powerful demonstration that that future reality is true and real. It is not a badge of, well done, you've done a great job. It's grace. It's God breaking into the present. One of my favourite leaders in the world today, from the Christian world, is a guy called Archbishop Benjamin Kwashi. And he talks about leading the church in northern Nigeria. He's the Archbishop of Jos. And he described how one day some jihadis came to his house to kill him, and he wasn't there. So they found his wife, and they did unimaginable, horrendous things to her and left her for dead. He came back and found his wife, Gloria. I've met her. She's an amazing woman. In this state, she was taken to hospital. And actually ended up going to America for a while, and her body was put back together. And he said to her, I really understand if you want to never go back there again. It's just too hard. And she said, no, God's called us. We're going to go back. Remember all the people we're serving alongside, how they've suffered as well. We're going to go back. So they went back. A few months later, a group of jihadis came to his house to kill him. He was there this time. And they dragged him into the middle of the compound and they knelt him down and they were about to execute him. And he said, since you know I'm a man of God, let me pray before I die. And he began to pray. And he just waited for the blow to fall. And it didn't fall, so he carried on praying. African style, he carried on praying even longer. And eventually, he felt his shoulder being shaken, and his son was standing by him. And he was shaking him, saying, Daddy, what has happened? What did you do? What did you say to those group of men? As I came into the house, they were armed and they were fleeing in terror for their life, saying that they had seen massive soldiers who were going to get them and who were chasing them. What have you done? Now, he tells that story with amazing joy, but with also great humility. He says, you know, when I look at my graduation class from my Bible school and I ask the question, I look at that graduation picture and I can number the people who've been killed for their faith, and I haven't. I was delivered. Why me? Why did that miracle happen to me? He says, I know for certain it's not that I'm better or more privileged than them. I just know that God had more for me to do. My times are in his hands. I find that a helpful answer to that question.